รายการต่อไปนี้เป็นรายการทั่วไปสามารถรับชมได้ทุกวัย
สนับสนุนโดยแลกเงินด้วยบัตรเครดิตกสิกรไทยเที่ยวก่อนจ่ายที่หลังไม่มีค่าธรรมเนียมผ่อนชำระได้จากธนาคารกสิกรไทย
สวัสดีค่ะทุกวันนี้แวดวงไอทีมีการเติบโตอย่างรวดเร็วเปิดโอกาสในการทำงานมากมายแต่ปรากฏว่าสัดส่วนของบุคลากรที่เป็นผู้หญิงยังถือว่ามีอยู่น้อยคุณโรบินเฮาเซอร์ผู้กำกับสารคดีชาวอเมริกันจึงได้ผลิตสารคดีที่ชื่อว่า Code Debugging the Gender Gap หรือโค้ดถอดรหัสช่องว่างระหว่างเพศเพื่อสำรวจสาเหตุผลกระทบและหาหนทางแก้ไขการขาดแคลนบุคลากรหญิงในแวดวงไอทีเราจะไปพูดคุยกับคุณโรบินถึงสิ่งที่เธอค้นพบในการทำสารคดีชิ้นนี้และไปดูบางส่วนของสารคดีด้วยค่ะ Code Debugging the Gender Gap หรือโค้ดถอดรหัสช่องว่างระหว่างเพศเป็นสารคดีที่เจาะลึกถึงสาเหตุและหนทางแก้ไขปัญหาช่องว่างระหว่างเพศและการขาดแคลนบุคลากรเพศหญิงในวงการคอมพิวเตอร์และเทคโนโลยีโดยเฉพาะด้านวิศวกรซอฟต์แวร์ในสารคดีได้มีการสัมภาษณ์บุคคลสำคัญในแวดวงต่างๆทั้งคอมพิวเตอร์จิตวิทยาวิทยาศาสตร์และการศึกษาเพื่อวิเคราะห์ให้เห็นถึงโครงสร้างสังคมความคิดแบบเหมารวมอคติทางเพศความไม่เท่าเทียมกันด้านการศึกษาและวัฒนธรรมที่ทำงานซึ่งล้วนแล้วแต่ส่งผลกระทบและเป็นส่วนสำคัญที่ก่อให้เกิดปัญหานี้โรบินเฮาเซอร์เป็นผู้กำกับและโปรดิวเซอร์สารคดีซึ่งก่อนหน้านี้เคยกำกับและอำนวยการสร้างสารคดี Bias เกี่ยวกับการมีอคติโดยไม่รู้ตัวส่งผลต่อการว่าจ้างและการให้เงินทุนนอกจากนั้นเธอยังเป็นผู้กำกับร่วมและอำนวยการสร้างสารคดี Running for Gym เกี่ยวกับโค้ชที่ทำให้เด็กคว้าแชมป์วิ่งแข่งได้แม้ว่าตัวเองต้องต่อสู้กับโรคร้ายสารคดีนี้ได้รับรางวัลถึง14รางวัลจากเทศกาลภาพยนตร์ล่าสุดโรบินได้กำกับสารคดี Code Debugging the Gender Gap ออกฉายครั้งแรกในงาน Tribeca Film Festival ปี 2015 และได้รับเลือกให้ฉายในเทศกาลหนังอีกหลายเทศกาล
Robin, why did you make this documentary?
My daughter was studying computer science in school, in college, and she's always been an academically very competent child. And for the first time in her academic career, she began to have doubts about her ability to succeed in a certain subject in computer science. And she called home and said, "Mom, there's only one other woman in the classroom. I think I don't belong here." And I think this is very similar to what a lot of women have in the industry. They just feel like it's not for them, whether it's because the classrooms or the workplace is filled with men, or whether it's societal messaging, right? We have very few role models that are women in tech. And I was confused by this because I had been reading in newspapers and a report issued by the White House that said that there was a serious lack of women in computer science and there was a big need. In fact, the White House issued a report that said that by the year 2020, there would be 1 million unfilled computer science-related jobs in the US alone. And I thought, this is crazy. We're missing half the population. Why aren't we incentivizing women to study computer science more?
So mom decided to do something about it.
Well, I wasn't going to do anything about it specifically for her. She eventually dropped out of computer science and she became an art history major. Now she's working in finance, so everything's worked out just fine for her. But I was curious, and given that I lived so close to Silicon Valley and I wanted to make a new film, I thought this was a very interesting issue. I'm interested in women's issues and issues of equality, so I wanted to see what was happening.
Are girls as good as boys at computers?
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. We could pretty much do anything they could do.
And that image in your mind, is that a man or a woman?
Man.
White House released a report that there will be 1.4 million jobs that are going to be opened by 2020 in the computing-related fields. And at the current rate, less than 29% of them are going to be filled by Americans, and less than 3% of that 29% are going to be women.
In the next 5 years, this country is going to produce about 3 times as many jobs for software engineers as it is producing new computer science majors. This whole industry is going to start to run out of gas if we're not producing enough computer science talent.
It's so urgent that we get more people to have the skills for coding and making, because we have so many different problems to solve in the world. And the industry really needs more diversity so we can make the broad set of products that this world deserves.
And I really think that this is a Rosie the Riveter moment, because the jobs are here and we don't have the workers to fill them.
Are there any particular questions that you have in mind that you want to find answers, especially for this documentary?
Yeah, I wanted to understand whether or not this was implicit sexism, whether there was a physiological difference between men and women that would make a man a better programmer than a woman. I was wondering whether that was true. I wanted to know whether it was startup culture, Silicon Valley, that just didn't really want women to be involved. I wanted to get to the truth of what was really happening. And the truth is that it's very complicated. There are a lot of different issues and reasons that there aren't more women. And in the United States, people of color, too, that are involved in tech.
What are the findings that you found?
Well, the findings are complicated, so there's several issues. I think one of the biggest issues is the stereotype of a computer scientist, right? So the stereotype is of typically a young man, usually Caucasian, with wearing a hoodie in the basement at night, drinking caffeinated beverages and maybe stale pizza and coding until 3 in the morning, right? Somebody who's antisocial. That's the stereotype. And that's not really very appealing to women.
What I've seen is that somebody that really doesn't care about their appearance and they just want to come in late and stay late and wear free t-shirts. I think that's my stereotype.
Maybe more antisocial.
Probably the traditional stereotype, right, is someone who's socially awkward and, you know, stays out in the basement, never sees the light of day. Then you have the programmer who is, you know, kind of your frat style, kind of really type A, macho.
I can teach you how to go from programmer to brogrammer in just 10 easy steps.
Where does the stereotype come from, though?
I think the stereotype comes from early marketing. It's where it started. So really early on, marketing from IBM, from Sun Microsystems, from some of the original first companies, everything was marketed toward the boy or the man. So it was, do you have the right stuff to be a computer scientist? It was a very macho sort of culture. And then it moved into more of the hacker type space, the computer nerd or geek, breaking into, you know, Los Alamos labs and this type of thing. So then it began, but all of those sort of clubby groups marginalized women, right, in one way or another. And then I think that Hollywood hasn't done much to help that. So they continuously pick up on the stereotype and they put out television shows. HBO has Silicon Valley, which just perpetuates the stereotype of the hoodied sort of not very nice programmer or brogrammer, as they call it. Thought that you would have to be isolated and work by yourself. That's a bad stereotype because the truth is that computer science can be really creative. You can make movies, you can get into architecture and design, clothing design, medicine.
Do you think it'd be fun to be a computer science person?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because you're always on a computer and it sometimes could get a little boring.
Ha! Coding's magic. Coding is behind everything. Your pocket is full of code. It's got your phone in it. And so it's really like, coders should be everybody at this point. There's so many exciting things you can do. You can make music, you can do fashion, you can do all kinds of things with code. We're kind of on the precipice of everyone being a coder.
Basically, it's writing a set of instructions. And those instructions are what a computer follows. You put all those together and you have email and you have iTunes and you have all kinds of cool things.
In the same way that everyone should know a little bit about law and everyone should know a little bit about economics, you probably should know a little bit about computer science.
Turn right.
Everything from your navigation system in your car to the way we think about credit card fraud, it's all radically changed behind the scenes.
Enter your passcode.
You can combine code with anything you love and you can have a job doing it. I loved art and I loved coding and now I get to make movies.
I am Merida and I'll be shooting for my own hand.
What are you doing?
ในสารคดี Code Debugging the Gender Gap ประเด็นหนึ่งที่ถูกกล่าวถึงคือการขาดแคลนผู้หญิงที่เป็นต้นแบบในแวดวงคอมพิวเตอร์ทั้งที่ผู้หญิงเป็นผู้มีบทบาทในแวดวงนี้มาตั้งแต่ยุคเริ่มต้น
Women were the pioneer programmers. They've been written out of history, unfortunately, in many cases, but they were the ones who first understood that instructing the machine was more important than the hardware of the machine. One of the first women pioneers in computing was Ada Lovelace, Lord Byron's daughter.
She's often considered to be the first computer programmer. Very often we trace the history of computing back to a guy named Charles Babbage, who in England in the 1820s built some machines that look like a modern computer. Ada Lovelace was a mathematician who wrote a first and very important description of Babbage's analytical engine.
She really envisioned how punch cards, which instructed the mechanical looms that were driving industrial England, that they could be used by her friend Charles Babbage's difference in analytical engines so that they could do more than just numbers. They could be computers. They could do words and pictures and music and patterns. The first computers were built for special purposes, breaking the German wartime codes, calculating a missile trajectory, and if you wanted to reprogram to do another problem, you had to unplug some cables and do some switches. And the women were in charge of doing the plugging and unplugging of the cables. They'd look at the diagram of the computer and figure out how would we move the cables to reprogram it. It did not seem like the most important work, but it took a good mathematical mind.
The designers thought that this would be an easy job, that the building of the machine would be the most difficult task, and then you would have a scientist who would define the problem, and these women would just be coding it. They'd be translating it from human language into machine language. It turns out that coding was quite difficult, and so these women played a very active role in defining what a computer could do.
The next is that we don't have, in order to counter that stereotype, we don't have many women that are role models. So if you ask your average American student to name 3 or 5 female scientists, they can't do it. The one name that you'll hear a lot is Marie Curie. But they don't know who Grace Hopper was. They don't know who Ada Lovelace was. And those aren't even modern day heroes, right? Those are women that were involved in tech and some of the pioneers in tech, but from many years ago.
Who is your favorite female model in the IT world?
Oh, I would say Megan Smith. Megan Smith was in the White House. She was our first female chief technology officer. I think she's fabulous. And that's my modern day hero in IT. In terms of a past hero, I would say without a doubt it's Grace Hopper. Grace Hopper is just a wonderful, iconic woman that contributed so much to IT. And I wish that she were more of a household name.
Is that why you included her in the film as well?
Well, we wouldn't have been very responsible documentarians if we didn't include her in the film. I mean, she was so instrumental. It was her idea. She came up with the idea of computer science languages. So she also coined the term debug, right? When they found a bug in the machine, the Harvard Mark I that she was working on. So I think it's really important to understand who Grace Hopper was and why she's so important in terms of where we are now with technology.
The
electromechanical differential analyzer performs scientific and industrial marvels.
Grace Hopper was the first person who came up with the concept of real programming languages and compilers. And what she enabled was computers to be used in business, because now you could write more complex programs.
Captain Hopper is a whiz at mathematics. Some would say a genius. One of that small band of brothers and sisters who ushered in the computer revolution. And as far as we've progressed since this vacuum tube monster, Captain Hopper says, we ain't seen nothing yet. You talk a lot about the computer revolution. I thought we're in it and it's over.
No, we're only at the beginning. We've been through the preliminaries.
Well, what's it going to be like?
We've got the Model T.
Grace Hopper had a piss and vinegar personality. She was like a great Navy person. She could curse with the best of them. And she ran that crew as if she were a Navy commander. She stays in the Navy the rest of her career. In fact, they keep extending her retirement because she's writing programming languages for the Navy all the way through.
People believe that she coined the term bug because of a moth that was found in the vacuum tube. So then they kept saying that they would have a bug in the system.
She was working on one of her early machines and found this moth. And in her lab notebooks from this period, we have this description of the very first computer bug, and it's taped right into the notebook.
But today we have people like Sheryl Sandberg,
We
CEO
do.
of Facebook.
We do.
Does that help?
That helps, but we need people like Sheryl and Marissa Mayer out there more often. Megan Smith, who was in the White House with the last administration, sadly she's not there anymore, but we need these type of women to speak up, to go out into the community, to talk, to speak in front of girls' schools or schools in general, right? But they need to become more household names.
What about education? What role does it play?
But part of the problem is that if you take an entry-level class in college, you should ideally be able to take that class and see whether it's interesting to you, right? It's an entry level, anybody's allowed in there. Because of gaming, the men that are in these entry-level prerequisite classes generally they've had much more experience with computer science than girls have, because they've been playing video games, looking for cheats and stuff like this for a really long time, since they were maybe 7 or 8 years old. Girls don't have that same advantage because there aren't as many, and there traditionally haven't been as many computer science games for women. So girls already feel early on as though they're at somewhat of a disadvantage, right, early. They just haven't had the same experience, basically. So they tend to feel like they're behind even in the entry-level classes in college, which makes it just harder for them to get through.
I think from a very young age, girls and boys are kind of told what they're supposed to like. I've gone shopping in toy aisles and I'll see these pink and girly toys, and then I'll see these cool like trucks and trains, but they're obviously marketed towards boys. So it's not that surprising to me that when girls get older, they don't gravitate towards the maths and sciences. I played with anything. I played with G.I. Joes, I played with Legos, I played with Barbies.
I love to shop, don't you? I can't believe my ears. I can't believe my eyes. Every teen talk Barbie is a different surprise. Cool. What you gonna say next?
Do you like toasted marshmallows?
That's the kind of talk we expect from Barbie. Innocuous and upbeat. But here's the one-liner that got her into big trouble.
Math class is tough.
Math class is tough? Mighty discouraging words from a female role model.
Hi guys, it's Barbie.
Mom Helen Jane Hearn says she was excited to share the book Barbie, I Can Be a Computer Engineer with her 2 young girls, until she opened it up.
We were shocked.
The book starts with Barbie designing a computer game, but she quickly gets into trouble, a virus crashing her laptop. Her solution? bring in the boys. It will go faster if Brian and I help, says Stephen. Barbie's reply, great. The boys fix the problem. And after a high-five celebration, Barbie proudly proclaims, I guess I can be a computer engineer.
Mattel is now apologizing for a children's book that is getting a lot of criticism.
For education, girls and boys actually do pretty much at the same level when they're in primary school or even secondary school, but girls tend to slide out of the picture somehow with maths and science subjects. Why is that?
So actually girls outperform boys up until middle school, which is typical of a lot of subjects. It's just the way that girls and boys develop a little bit differently. What happens in about, and this is in American culture again, there are similarities in some other cultures, of course, but in sort of 7th grade, 8th grade, girls begin to, well, they stop raising their hand, especially in co-ed education. So they begin to get sort of societal messaging that it's not cool to be smart. It's not, they want to be the cute girl and the cool girl, and they don't want to be the smart, nerdy girl. And so because of this, they begin to get the message, whether it's from television shows or media or just societal messaging, or whether it's from their parents. They begin to get these messages that it's not cool to study the sciences or mathematics and STEM. And I think that's really interesting that that happens. It's too bad, but it has a big effect on young women.
I have a niece who was always great in math, all the way through elementary school, junior high school. And in high school, all of a sudden, she's not good at math anymore. And it's much more around she doesn't want to be seen as being the smart girl. She doesn't, it's all of those pressures. They want to be the cute girl, the popular girl, not the nerdy girl.
Oh, I never wanted to be the cute girl, the popular girl.
A lot of girls do though, right?
I know.
Girls start to associate math and science as not being something they want to be associated being good at. They don't want to be thought bad at math, they just want to be average.
Hey, I'm totally lost. Can you help me?
But I wasn't lost. Yeah. I knew exactly what Ms. Norberg was talking about. It's a factorial, so you multiply each one by n. Wrong.
Is that the summation?
Yeah, they're the same thing. Wrong. He was so wrong. Thanks. I get it now.
ถึงแม้ว่าทุกวันนี้ดูเหมือนว่าผู้หญิงจะมีโอกาสเท่าเทียมกับผู้ชายแต่จากการพูดคุยกับคุณโรบินและการดูบางส่วนของสารคดีชิ้นนี้ก็จะพบนะคะว่าความคิดแบบเหมารวมซึ่งฝังรากลึกมานานว่าอาชีพในวงการไอทีไม่ใช่อาชีพสำหรับผู้หญิงยังคงเป็นปัจจัยสำคัญที่ทำให้มีผู้หญิงในแวดวงนี้น้อยกว่าที่ควรจะเป็นสัปดาห์หน้าเราจะมาดูสาเหตุอื่นๆกันต่อว่าทำไมถึงมีผู้หญิงในวงการนี้น้อยรวมถึงหนทางในการแก้ไขด้วยค่ะพบกันใหม่สัปดาห์หน้าวันนี้สวัสดีค่ะ